Hello, welcome to this special edition of 7:30. I'm Lee Sales. It's been a momentous 24 hours for Australia's national carrier Qantas. Its entire fleet is currently grounded and it's planning a lockout of staff from tomorrow. Tonight, we'll cross to our correspondents around the world for the latest news from major Qantas hubs in London, Los Angeles and Bangkok. We'll also talk to key players in the dispute. As we go to air tonight, 108 planes are grounded in 22 locations. Qantas operates 3,000 flights, both domestically and internationally, a week, and cancelling all those flights is costing Qantas $20 million a day. We start tonight with our reporter Connor Duffy, who explains how we got here.
The war began with a skirmish 9 months ago, a dispute over Qantas's shortest international flight, the Trans-Tasman route. Qantas set up a company called Jet Connect, employing staff who were paid on lower New Zealand rates.
They used our brand new 737-800s, they painted them in Qantas colours, they put a little New Zealand flag on the back, they put the pilots in Qantas uniforms and the flight attendants in Qantas uniforms and then employed them in New Zealand. It's a pure sham operation, and we were concerned that this was going to proliferate.
The pilots' union says it's fighting to save Australian jobs. Qantas management says it's battling to save a company besieged by international competition.
The way I want to give everybody that job security is to have a strong, viable Qantas, and that's what our plan is all about.
The pilots have been joined by two other unions in a simmering industrial dispute. The Licensed Engineers Union is also campaigning against jobs being sent overseas and is ready for a long campaign.
We've said all along this will be a 12-month process and we don't see that being any shorter at this stage.
There was a third union involved. The Transport Workers Union threatened to pull baggage handlers off the job before negotiation even began.
But Qantas are a scabby company now.
Again, the issue was job security, with the union demanding labour hire employees be paid the same rate as Qantas, effectively removing the incentive to use such workers. Qantas says the TWU had agreed to such a deal for its competitors at Virgin, and says it's being victimised at enormous cost.
We've had 70,000 passengers disrupted, nearly $70 million in cost to the airline.
Competition and cost are key to Qantas's argument. 15 years ago, 39% of Australians who left to go overseas flew Qantas. Today, it's just 18%. And when you see the lower prices from competitors in Asia and the Middle East, it's easy to see why. Even with the slow increase in hostilities this year, Qantas unions say they were shocked by the company's sudden and drastic escalation of the conflict.
I think it's an extreme overreaction in our case, and I think it's high-handed and arrogant, and I think he's got the passengers worldwide as held for ransom.
For the families of Qantas staff, the news also came as a surprise.
Joyce is all over the papers today.
Kathy Buckley says her pilot husband was on a flight to Singapore when a message flashed in the cockpit informing him of the decision.
My husband tried to seek clarification from the company as to what on earth was going on, and he described it as having, it was like having a bullet put to my head in my safe workplace when I'm focusing on landing an aircraft in Singapore.
Alan Joyce says industrial action was slowly strangling the company and he had no choice.
The only option I had was not to have my customers in disarray all around the world for the next 1 year, with 10,000 customers were disrupted last Friday.
But questions are being asked about why passengers weren't given more notice of the snap grounding. Qantas says the lockout plan was only decided yesterday, but governments and unions have questioned whether it could happen so quickly. There's a growing body of evidence that Qantas had been planning yesterday's lockout for some time. This transcript of last night's Fair Work Australia hearing shows that the airline's Group Executive for Operations, Lyle Stramby, was aware of a risk assessment that was prepared for such a scenario and dated October 20. That's 10 days ago. That's news that's sure to infuriate passengers who are stranded at airports all around the world with no notice.
I'm appalled on their behalf that this has happened. At any one time when we carry passengers, they're travelling for a number of reasons. It could be just holidays, but there are people trying to go to dear ones' funerals and bedsides because they're sick.
I've apologised today for the disruptions that we've caused, but this will cause less disruption to our customers in the long run than a continued strike by these unions over the next year, which was their plan.
Connor Duffy reporting. Well, the dispute has stranded about 13,000 Qantas passengers overseas, and our correspondents are in some of the key hubs. Emma Alberici has been at Heathrow Airport in London, Lisa Miller is at Los Angeles International Airport, and Zoe Daniel is in Bangkok. Let's start in London. Emma Alberici, what sort of scenes have you been seeing there?
Well, in the immediate aftermath of the grounding, 4 flights were due to take off from Heathrow, and that left passengers in quite a bit of disarray, not all of them having watched news bulletins. Of course, when you're on holiday, you're not exactly glued to the televisions. So about 1,500 passengers have been stranded here, and quite a bit of chaos reigned because there was not a single Qantas staff at Heathrow to direct them to other airlines or other arrangements. So they were handed letters saying that they would be given refunds and that they should make other plans of their own accord. So people have been quite distressed, people going on cruises, for instance, who had to take off so that they could meet up with their lifetime cruises they've been waiting for a lifetime. And so also this has coincided with a very busy holiday period all across Europe and the UK.
Lisa Miller in Los Angeles, you're no doubt seeing some similar things there in the US. When you talk to people who've been stranded, what are they saying about Qantas?
Well, it seems that it's gone a little bit smoother here at LAX, Lee. The passengers have praised the Qantas staff who are here. They were all put into hotels and there's been assistance for them trying to get onto other flights. Certainly there is an anger towards Qantas, but there's pretty much split down the middle as to whether that anger is directed towards Alan Joyce or the unions. There was one passenger certainly who said that even if he was offered a free ticket now anywhere with Qantas, he wouldn't accept it.
Zoe Daniel in Bangkok, Lisa Miller said the anger there in the US seems evenly split between Qantas and the unions. What about in Bangkok? What's the attitude and what's going on there?
Well, look, Lee, obviously we've had a situation here with flooding over the last few weeks. We've already seen about 1 million people leave Bangkok in the last few days because of the risk of flooding, some by air, some by car. Many people would have had to change travel arrangements, and obviously this has affected both expats and tourists. Also, there have been travel warnings put out by various governments, including Australia, to say reconsider your need to travel to Bangkok. So people would have changed their arrangements to allow them to simply transit through the Suvarnabhumi International Airport rather than coming into the city. This has created a situation where people who were on their way from London to Sydney last night were put off the plane in Bangkok and brought to a hotel in the city, which is actually against that travel warning. I'm pleased to say that the flooding situation seems to have eased somewhat, so they should not be at any immediate risk. But I know that Qantas is at pains to try and get them onto flights and out of Bangkok as soon as possible.
OK, Zoe Daniel, Lisa Miller, Emma Alberici, thank you very much for making time to speak to us.